Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making eclairs, and guess what? They're easier than you think they are. So let's get going. So to get started on our eclairs, we have to make the pastry cream first. And this is a little bit of an expensive pastry to make, only because it takes so many eggs, and as we all know right now, eggs are crazy expensive. But let's go ahead and get this started. I have a medium saucepan here, and it's nice and thick. It does help with the distribution of heat. I'm gonna add in 2 cups of whole milk. And I have 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste. I love vanilla bean paste. I think it's just a little bit sweeter. You can use just regular vanilla extract, but you just won't get those little pretty flecks of the vanilla seed in your pastry cream, which makes it pretty, but you can still use just regular old extract. So we're gonna put that there, and then we're gonna separate our egg whites from our egg yolks, and we need 6 egg yolks. And I'm gonna save the whites because I think that I'm gonna make some macarons later, so go ahead and do that. And the easiest way to separate your whites from your yolks is with your hands. So make sure they are clean. They should always be clean when you're cooking. Okay, so now that we have our egg yolks in here, I'm gonna throw in 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. And then we're gonna whisk this up until it's really nice and light. So this is what our egg yolk and sugar look like, just barely stirred. Now we're gonna stir this a lot, whisk it up a lot, and this is gonna become a really light color. And it's gonna kind of, I'm not gonna say double in volume, but it is gonna get a little bit bigger looking. So let's get that going. Okay, so I don't know if you can really tell the difference. I mean, I certainly can. It's way lighter, a lot smoother in texture. So then we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of cornstarch. And we're just gonna mix that in until there's no lumps. Okay, and that's it for this step. So right now I have on the heat, it's a medium heat, and we're just gonna stir around the vanilla bean paste and the milk, and we're gonna get this to it's just starting to bubble. So I just wanted to give you an up close look. Look how beautiful those vanilla bean seeds look in there. And this is almost about to boil, and I want you to know to make sure that you don't have to stir constantly, but make sure you're stirring quite often, because you don't want the bottom of the milk to scorch. It'll ruin everything. So just keep stirring. You don't have to stir vigorously, just move the liquid around. And when it hits almost to a boil, you'll see the bubbles on the side of the pan start to bubble up. And that's when we're done, and we're gonna move on to our next step. Okay, so the milk is just about to boil. It's starting to get bubbles on the side of the pan. It's very steamy. So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna do something called tempering, and we're gonna temper our eggs. So we don't wanna dump this milk straight into our egg mixture, because it'll make the egg cook crazy fast, and it'll like curdle it up, and it'll just be ruined. It'll be gross. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna scoop a little bit of our milk at a time and throw it in here and mix it up, and then it'll just gradually heat the eggs up. And that's the way to get a smooth texture and not get all lumpy and gross and ruin it. So we're just gonna do a couple scoops of this milk mixture and throw it into our egg and just slowly stir it in. You don't wanna stir it quickly, because this is a thick egg mixture, and if you stir it quickly, you will get hot milk all over you, which will be no good. Okay. Go. I can already feel it loosening up a little bit. We're gonna throw a little bit more in. I'm gonna take this off the heat for right now. We don't want it to scorch, so. But we are gonna put it back on the heat, so I'm not gonna turn this off. That should be good. it's more liquidy now. So now that these eggs are tempered, we can throw it into our hot liquid. And I'm actually going to turn this down to maybe a low medium heat. Put this on here, and then because the cornstarch is in here, this will just get so nice and thick and so yummy creamy. I love pastry cream. It's so delicious. Now this is the key part where you're gonna have to stir constantly, because the second this firms up, it goes quick. Let me bring it closer. Oh, it's already getting thicker. I can already feel it. So just stir constantly. It won't take more than a minute or two. Make sure you're getting on the sides of the pan and in the creases of the pan. Oh, there it goes. I'm feeling it. You can see it already. It's getting very thick now. Look at that. Ooh, nice and thick already. A little bit longer. And there we go. Magic has happened. All right, turn the heat off, and we're gonna bring it over here off heat. Ooh, just burned myself, be careful. All right, see how nice and thick this is? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in 1 tablespoon of cold butter. And this acts like an ice cube. And it'll help cool down so it won't cook as much anymore. And it also just makes it a really nice, luxurious texture. It's like so soft and creamy. And I love pastry cream. It smells so good. And this is gonna go perfectly inside of our eclairs. Now that that's all mixed in, I have a shallow dish here, and I'm just gonna dump this in here. If you put it in a bowl, it just won't cool down as fast. I mean, you can put it in a bowl if you're not gonna use this right away, but I'm gonna throw this in here. I add this pastry cream, I add it into cakes, little cream puffs. It's just really good. It's really versatile. I really like to do this. I'll make those, if you saw my mini lemon pies, the little lemon pie, meringue pies, I use that same shell, and I'll put pastry cream in, and I'll add like a little raspberry on top, and they're so good for a summer treat. We'll have to make that one day and show you all. All right, so we're gonna get this in here. Kind of try to spread it out so it's nice and flat. Of course, get your desserts. Oh my God, so good. And we're gonna throw some plastic wrap right on top of this, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge for it to cool down. So we're just gonna make sure you get it all covered so there's no air pockets. Otherwise it'll grow like a, or not grow, it'll, once it cools down, it'll get a skin on it, and you don't want that. So just get it down there nice. We're gonna pop this into the fridge, and then we're gonna work on our eclairs. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and work on our choux pastry. This is for the eclair, and it calls for 1 stick of butter. I stole a tablespoon of butter for our pastry cream, so we're just gonna be slightly short, which is not a big deal. If you were a lot short, it would be a big deal, but 1 tablespoon I don't think will kill this recipe. I'm just cutting it up so that it will melt easier when we go to cook this. And I have in here, it's 1/2 cup of water and 1/2 cup of whole milk. I already mixed it together in here, so we're just gonna dump it in our pan. And then I have a teaspoon of sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon salt. Dump it right in. And then we're gonna throw this onto the heat, make sure all the butter gets melted in, mix it all up. And when it hits about time for it to start to bubble, then we're gonna throw in a cup of flour, and we're just gonna mix it until it forms a dough. So let's go do that. All right, so just like with the pastry cream, we're gonna get this to a bubble or a light boil, making sure that all of the butter is mixed in. And you don't wanna leave this like before because it is milk, so the bottom can scorch and ruin everything if you just walk away from it and hope it just does its thing. So you don't have to stir it constantly, but occasionally. So all the butter is melted now, so it's not going to take much longer for the rest of it to heat up. It's already starting to get little bubbles on the side. And yeah, it'll just be a few more minutes, and then we're going to take it off the heat and dump in our 1 cup of flour. And you want that, you know, I have it nice, I have the edge nice and flat. You want kind of a precise amount, because if you get too little or too much, it's going to change the texture. So this is just at the boil point. Okay, so we're going to take this off the heat, and we're going to throw in our flour all at one time. And you're going to want to mix this with a wooden spoon or like a really hard spoon, because this is going to get become really thick, which is what you're looking for. Okay, now we're going to throw it back onto the heat. Make sure it's all mixed up to get some of that moisture out of there. So as we're mixing, as you can see, it's kind of forming a little bit of a, I don't know what to call it, a skin maybe, down here on the bottom of the pan. And that's about when you know that it's ready to come off the heat. It's forming this nice beautiful ball. You don't want to overcook it. And, I mean, you're not trying to brown this or anything. So yeah, now it's getting that little bit of a skin right there, I'm going to take it off the heat. So I'm going to throw this into our stand mixer. Whoop. And we're going to attach a whisk attachment to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to beat this with the whisk attachment, and all the steam's going to come out, and that's what you want. You don't want the moisture that's trapped in here, and you want it to cool down a little bit. Look at all that steam coming out. You see that? Alright, so we had that going for about a minute. Most of the steam's out. It's still quite warm though. I think I'm going to let this go for just maybe another minute longer, and then we're going to add our eggs. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. I'm going to add in 1 egg at a time. It's a whole egg, and these are room temperature, and we're just going to drop them in, and we're going to let it go until each egg is completely combined, and it's going to make a nice silky texture. So leave this on low. Now, per usual, I'm going to scrape down the sides, make sure we get all that egg at the bottom. And this is already becoming like a really nice, smooth texture. And that's exactly what we're looking for, a little soft and doughy. Okay, we're just going to mix this for a minute or so more. All right, look at that. Look how beautiful that is. It has a nice, beautiful ribbon. That's gorgeous right there. That's exactly what we want. All right, so we're gonna put our choux dough into our pastry bag, and I'm gonna fit it with a Wilton 1A, and that's just a kind of a larger round tip. You can also use one that's has the little points like a star, and it gives like a little ridge. So that way you have a little texture to your puff, but I'm just going to do it the traditional way. So let's cut a hole in our pastry bag. I'm just going to drop this in here. Now if you want to mix and match and do some that are traditional, some with like the little grooves on the sides and the top, if you put a coupler on the bottom of this, you can just switch out the tips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist the bottom. We don't want any of this dough to leak down through. And I'm just going to fold it a little bit like this and drop it in. So see, it's not going to go anywhere. It's all folded up in here. So we'll get our dough in here. And if I haven't shown you this before, or if you don't know it, if you use a cup to put your pastry bag in, it just holds it a little better, less of a mess. You're not trying to hold one hand the pastry bag, one hand scooping your dough in. And you don't want to overfill these bags because then they'll come out the top. And it's just easier if you have a little bit smaller bag to hold on to. You can always refill it. So we're gonna hold this up. See, there's not too much dough in there. I probably could have put a little bit more. And I'm gonna unscrew the bottom and just kind of work everything down. Squeeze it down. And then we're gonna twist the top so stuff doesn't come out. We're just gonna give a nice line on the paper here. So I'm gonna make these about maybe 3 inches long. I'm not gonna make huge eclairs. We're just gonna do a nice little consistent pressure. There we go. And we're gonna have these spaced fairly far apart because they will pop out. So let me give you a closer view. So I have a little bit of water here, and what I'm gonna do is, see these little edges here, they're kind of pokey. I don't want those. I don't want these ones right here. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of water on my finger, and I'm just gonna kind of dab these down a little bit so they're a little bit smushed. So we don't want those to burn. I'll make a funky little edge. Oops, I just touched that one. See, we just kind of shape it the way we want it. Okay, so while we had these going, I had the oven preheating, and we set it 425. So what needs to happen is you have that high heat, and these are gonna poof right up, and then we're gonna lower the heat, and we're gonna cook them for at 325 at a little bit lower temperature, just to get them all fully cooked. When these come out, they should feel like air. They should be so light and fluffy because the inside is going to be basically hollow, which is what we're going to put our pastry cream in. Okay, so these just came out. They're pretty textbook. They're so pretty. And I will, let's see, let's find one that's a little off. I mean, those are all great. This one's, I guess, a little, well, I'll do this one. This one's a little wonky. Okay, so let me cut this open for you. So it has a little funny slit there, but these should hopefully, because I mean, they do feel nice and light, so they should be nice and airy on the inside. Love that sound. Okay, ready? Truth moment. Look at that, oh my gosh. So that dent, that indent in there where it's just air, that's exactly where we're gonna put our pastry cream, and it's gonna be so delicious. And then we're gonna dip these in chocolate, and it's just gonna be yummy. I'm gonna make the dipping sauce, the chocolate glaze that goes on top, and really it's super simple. All it is 4 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and then we're gonna put a ½ cup of heavy cream on boil. So we're gonna pour, I have 4 ounces of chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I'm just gonna pour this really hot, hopefully my glass here won't break, half and half, or not half and half, excuse me, heavy cream. And we're just gonna let that sit for about a minute and let the chocolate chips melt, and then we'll stir it up, and that'll be the perfect dipping sauce for our eclairs. Okay, so now it's the time for the assembly. The pastry cream that we made earlier is still slightly warm, that's okay. And I also have some pastry cream that I had made about 2 days ago, maybe 3, because this will keep up in the fridge for around a week, maybe 2 if you're lucky. I'll double check that though. As long as you keep plastic wrap on top and then put it in an airtight container, it should last. So you kind of stir it up, mix everything back in, and oops, let me show you the tip real fast. So this tip is it's actually really necessary for this job. So this is a 230 tip, and it's meant for filling. So because it's real long and skinny, you just kind of insert it in and squeeze. So that's the tip you need to use, or something like it at the very least. Especially having these eclairs, they're long, so you need to be able to get a tip in there. Okay, so I'm just shoving this in, let's do this end, to make a starting hole. That way, whoops, assembly will go a little faster, hopefully. That one I can't use because look at that, the side's completely ripped open. And we're gonna dip and set. Oop, that one doesn't want to stay upright. Okay, time for the taste test. Let's find one, hopefully, that's nice and full. Oh, this one feels nice and full. Okay. So good. And you can see all that cream on the inside. It's the best part. So if you can get as much in there as possible, the better. All right, everybody, if you'd like to see more of my pastries and baked goods, please like and subscribe below. Have a great day.